Welcome back. This is Fantastic Pains and How We Hide Them. I'm not Chris.
And I'm not Karina.
And neither of us are Summer.
No, but I am.
And she's also not Kaylee, who's here.
Yeah.
Kaylee's a hand.
Haley's just a hand.
It's a hand puppet. Where you been, buddy?
Pretty much.
If this is your first time joining us, welcome, first of all. This is our sibling duo podcast with friends about life with chronic illness and chronic conditions, including mental illness and neurodivergencies.
There you go.
There we go.
You got there.
Got it. Sorta. Jeez. We're all a little draggy today.
Yeah.
But we're working on it. We're trying. So we have an interesting topic today, though.
Yeah.
You want to tell them what it is?
We're going to be talking about misrepresentation for everything, condition-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And how you can be treated inappropriately by doctors and all the fun.
All the lay people in your lives.
Yeah. The not normies, because we don't use that term anymore.
No.
Not normies.
They're the temporarily
Tempies.
able-bodied.
Yeah, the tempies.
Yeah.
Tempies. There you go. So where can they find us?
Oh, pretty much every podcast platform except for Apple.
Still waiting on
and
that one.
on YouTube.
Mhm.
You can watch us.
Yep. And if you're into the funnies, you can go to TikTok, or you can join the conversations at our Discord.
Mm-hmm.
And always feel free to leave us a comment. We read every one of them, and we always get excited when we do. So if you like it, maybe share with anybody else in your life. And we hope you're subscribed so that we can welcome you to the family. The family of trash pandas.
Yes.
Which is what we identify as, by the way. Anything else before we move into our time for the weekly recap?
Check in.
Indeed. We did kind of a recap yesterday in the live. So I'm like, I don't really know what to go over. But we could be quick, I think.
I didn't talk about my week at all.
Oh, go for it.
I didn't do anything. That's why there's
you
nothing
left
to go
me
over.
out. I have nothing.
Like, we didn't really talk even
Yeah.
like throughout the week. It was just lots of fatigue
Uh-huh.
and struggling.
Yes.
Like, all that new expansion came out. I was supposed to play it all
Oh
week.
yeah.
Barely touched
Couldn't
it.
get into it.
No.
Yeah.
Burned out. And I wanted to socialize too, but
Mhm.
I just couldn't. all
My week was just crazy. 'Cause work is crazy, and then I have been running around on like dislocating ankles,
Mhm.
still forever, continually. And then, my pelvis has been really bad. So I did something and tweaked something, and now stuff is running wild inside of my body. It's horrible. Yeah, I think that's mostly it.
Mhm.
So not a whole lot. It was a crazy week, but not too crazy
No.
at the same time.
Not enough to make the weekend
Not enough
bad.
to like talk about.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There was a lot, but it was like work stuff and then
Mhm.
coming home and being super, super tired and then barely making it through the week.
But you did it.
Oh yeah, and then I got yeeted by a kid
Oh, yeah.
yesterday. That was fun. The kid just like turned around behind me or something. She was like, I don't know if she was walking backwards or what, but she turned around and just sent me flying, and I like landed on the ground, and that was cool. So I had to do an incident report about it, and then they were like, "Are you sure you don't want to go get checked out?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And so I got in my car and I relocated my elbow, and I was like,
I'm good.
"Yep, yep." And then my shoulder wouldn't go because it was so angry.
Mm.
But we're here and we're alive and it's fine.
Yeah.
How about you?
Ooh. It's been a lot. As far as like weekly stuff goes, it's been an okay-ish week. I had a bad seizure episode Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And shook for like 15 hours, which is a really cool, fun thing that my body does a lot of the time. But I am officially going to the epilepsy monitoring unit in a few weeks, and I get to stay for 5 days, and I got all my paperwork and stuff, but I had to call them because the paperwork that they gave me was very vague. It was like, you can bring stuff unless you can't bring it. And I was like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, what are you getting
What are you
at?
trying to say?
So I called and I was like, can you just like clarify what this is going to look like. And they were like, it's going to be rough. And I was like, cool.
You're going to hate it.
Please explain. And basically I check in and that they're going to most likely take me off all of my medications because the whole point is to trigger seizures, which is super fun. So I'm just going to be hooked up to like 25 leads on my head and 2 on my chest to monitor my heart rate.
And they're going to keep you awake for a long time.
Yes, because they were like, we want to see if sleep deprivation is a trigger. And I was like, it is. And they were like, cool, you can sleep for 4 hours the first night and we're going to see how you do. And also look at a strobe light and also try different sounds and also try different frequencies. And I was like, all of these things.
We're going to overstimulate you until you cease.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
And they were like, you're probably going to be shaking for most of the week. And I was like, great. I can't wait.
Fun.
But this is the first time that anything has happened in any kind of direction.
Yeah.
Because
they're taking it seriously.
And like, I've been having these since I was 12. So it's been like over a decade. And this is the first time a doctor is like, this is weird. We should go and do some testing.
Let's figure this out, maybe.
And hopefully there will be some kind of result. And they basically were like, we're not going to let you leave without at least knowing what the next steps are going to be. So even if we, for some reason, can't find anything, like we will at least know what it isn't and we will know what we're doing next.
Right.
Because I can't keep doing this.
Right.
It's hard and it's bad and it hurts my bones.
Yeah.
Are
you still doing trauma processing with?
Yes. So I've started official like CPT therapy for specifically PTSD. And
how's it going?
It's hard. It's a lot of like, because the entire point of it is to retrain your brain so that you don't latch on to the trauma pieces and that you can like actually like put a line of separation between what happened and what your reaction is, which is great and cool, but also is really, really draining because a lot of it is like, hey, why don't you talk about all of the things that you, because it's all stuck points. It's all just like, bad thing happened, you have stuck points that you fixate on. How can we take that stuck point and actually break it down to whether or not it's realistic for you to feel that way? Yeah. Which is helpful, but I feel like a lot of the processing happens not in the therapy session. And it's like interfering with sleep and it's interfering with nightmares and it's interfering with all of these things. And all of it's very normal, which is what my therapist keeps reminding me. And he's like, you're doing a really good job. It's just, this is hard. And like, it's supposed to be hard. So we're like roughly halfway through of what like the CPT manual has. So I have like another 6 or 7 weeks, but he said, depending on kind of where I am, especially since we're going to have at least a week interruption because of being in the hospital. We might have to extend it, which is fine. But this week I'm working entirely on like patterns of problematic thinking, but specifically in regard to like, can you shift those patterns to have other thoughts and how much do you believe the thoughts and how much, and we're, like, it's a lot of working on genuine versus manufactured emotions. And I have a lot of trouble with that. And I think part of the trouble I have with it is because I'm on the spectrum. So I had like a really long conversation with him the other week because I was like, I don't know what's real. Like I base a lot of my like reactions to things and I don't do it consciously anymore. But like as a kid, I learned how to mirror and like mimic. And he was like, so you don't know if the things you're feeling are actually how you're feeling or like, and I was like, no, I don't know if it's real or if it's what I'm supposed to be like presenting.
Emoting.
Like, because what is the societally appropriate response to whatever the thing is? So I had to like break that down for him, which he understood, but he was also like, this is out of my wheelhouse. And I was like, I get it. But also, when you ask me if something is real or manufactured, this is why I don't have an answer for you. Like, I need you to understand that I'm trying to learn how to identify these things after spending 24 years just watching the way other people do things and being like, okay, you're crying? We should be crying. I'll also cry, and then it'll be fine. Like, so.
Yeah. It's that masking that you learn how to do really young, and it stays with you. And that's why, like, it's so hard to get women or people born female to diagnosis because it doesn't look like the way it looks in our boys.
And I took the rads online for fun, and my like camouflaging and masking and mirror and mimic were like off the charts high.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh, you've learned how to pretend to be a person to like make people not think you were strange. And it's really hard for me to like break that down. Like I can unmask around a certain group of people, and like I can unmask around you, and I can unmask around Lulu, and I can unmask around Danny.
Yeah.
Beyond that, it starts getting dicey just because like if I'm totally like not worried about being perceived, it's fine, but I have a really hard time with allowing myself to not worry about what people are going to think or say or respond to. So
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, and your neurologist approved a pretty hefty leave, which was good.
Yes, because so the EMU stay is going to be a week, they think, because they don't know for sure because it's different depending on the person, but like 75% of people are there for 5 days.
Right.
So it could be I get to leave early, which is very not likely. It could be that I have to stay for a full 7 days.
Yeah.
It's going to depend on what they can get and like if they feel like they need to do other testing as we go. But my neurologist at first was like, yeah, you can just take that week off and then come back that following Monday. And I was like, there is no way.
Right.
Because
you're gonna
even
shake for a week and then be good to go on Monday.
Well, and even if it was just that, like they're taking me off of my meds.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to do a readjust. Even if they don't give me any new meds, like I'm going to have to readjust to being on an SSRI. So I'm going to have the zaps. There's no way that I can be back and functional like that next week.
Yeah.
And I was like, listen, HR at work is telling me to take 3 weeks. Like a week for the process and 2 weeks for recovery.
Yep.
And I would rather do that, and I can afford to do that because it's going to be about the same amount that I'm making right now for having to not be at work however many times a week. So she was worried at first because she was like, well, is it going to interfere with your job? And I was like, too late.
Right.
So she signed off on it and was like, if you feel like you want or can go back sooner, I can sign a release and you can go back like a week earlier. But right now the plan is that I'm going to be off for those 3 weeks for being able to recover, and if they need to do more testing or if I have to like go and get CAT scans and stuff done, because they basically said that it's going to be really like they'll be doing labs and they'll be doing tests, like that kind of testing, but anything that is going to require me to super leave my room, they're probably going to hold off on, just because it's going to be so many leads to have to detach and reattach and all
it
that
gets
stuff
to be a pain in the butt. Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm glad that it's coming up and they actually have some direction. Yeah, because that is such a pain in the ass when they're like, I don't know what's wrong with you. Bye. Bye. Because it's like when I had the heart stuff and they were like, it's not going to kill you. Don't know what it is. You're super weird. See you later.
Well, that's what it was when I had all of the heart stuff that I had as like a little kid, because they were like, oh, your dad has tachycardia? He's alive, so you should be good.
Right.
I know your resting heart rate sits at 130, 5-year-old child, but like it's cool.
You were a hummingbird at birth.
Later. Because my resting is still really, really high, even on the beta blocker. And my neurologist was like, that could also be factoring into all of this. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure it is, but nobody's given a shit. Like everybody's just kind of been like, but you have a job.
Yeah. Well, and that's the frustrating part is they have this like, disabled people should at least try to work. But then if you're working, clearly you're not disabled.
That's the thing.
And I'm like, what? What?
And it's because there's no way to, because it's, you should give it a try, because if you don't try, then you're like feeding into it and you're letting it control your whole life and be your whole life. And then you're like, cool, I'm working, but I need accommodations to be made so that I'm allowed to like work without killing my entire body.
Right.
And then they're like, but that's selfish.
Taking care of yourself is selfish, okay? And we don't do that around here. You can't take care of yourself. That's silly. Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does Dweeb want to do a weekly recap?
I don't really know.
That's me all the time. I'm like, I don't remember what was yesterday or 3 weeks ago.
I've been unemployed for several months, so everything is the same all the time, always.
It's Blur's Day. That's what we call that. It's Blur's Day.
Blur's Day recap.
Blur's Day recap. How are you doing? Let's do that one.
Okay, I guess.
Yeah. If I'm alive. Yes.
I've been forgetting to take my meds. I'll go like a week without taking my meds, and I won't even realize it until I'm like all headachy and feel like I'm gonna pass out. I'm like, something's not right here.
Yeah, I've been doing that too.
Take your meds.
Well, I fall asleep too early,
Oh, I've had that happen before.
right? Like I've been falling asleep around 6.
Dang.
Yeah, and then I'm up all night, of course, but it throws off my entire
I mean,
rotation.
at least you're sleeping.
Yeah.
That is something. So, gift horse.
Mm-hmm.
I have a tracker on my phone that, like, not even because alarms on my phone don't work because I will snooze them, but I have a little, like, bullet journal app that has a section that's like,
Oh,
do you have
yeah.
any habits that you want to track? And I'm like, I need to track if I took my meds because otherwise I will just be like, did I take those?
Mm-hmm.
Like I've
Yes.
tried like in January doing like just a bunch of habits on a piece of paper and then checking them off if
Yeah.
I did them. And then I just stopped doing that.
Couldn't build that habit.
That
Um,
happens.
But I have like a pill box that's just like 1 week,
Mhm.
and
Oh, so you
I
know
only
if
have
you've
2
taken it or not.
pills, but it's so that I can, see if my pills are still in the box for that
Mhm.
day.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
like
I-
20 pills in the morning and 20 at night and then 30 at midnight
Yeah.
and then 45
like-
more and
I'll,
that really
I'll
This
show you guys what our
box is
pill
this
containers
big.
look like.
Yeah, I have to take like 17 pills every 10 minutes
Jesus.
So we
throughout the day.
I love these. These are amazing because they're labeled for the days,
Hmm.
and they have the 4 slots, which is nice. And then I just take these with me.
Yeah.
When I leave the house, and so I have my meds on the go, and hopefully sometimes I can stop doing whatever I'm doing at work and take my meds on time. But that doesn't happen very often.
No, because
Where I'm
most
like,
of the
no,
time,
I'm doing a thing, and there's a child who needs me, and I can't get back to my room right now, or.
because your alarm will go off on your watch and you'll be like,
Don't
well,
have time for
That's
that.
Right.
not happening.
That's cute.
Alarms don't do anything for me. My husband keeps saying, he's like, no, summer alarms. And I'm like,
I'll snooze them.
They
I'll just
literally
look
mean
at it and turn it
nothing.
off.
Yeah.
Right.
Like keep
They
doing what
mean-
I'm doing.
they mean nothing to my brain. My brain's like, eh. Oh, well, there's that
Like,
thing that
oh, I'm in
happens
the middle of
at a weird
something.
time of
Mhm.
the day. Yeah, no. Habits.
Yeah.
I don't do that well. I have all the executive dysfunction. But yeah. You ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right. He's just staring at me, so I'm like,
I'm ready to get into it
Okay.
because it's.
It is a really good topic, and I'm excited. And you wanted to do this a couple weeks ago.
I did. Well, yeah, when you were struggling with dealing with the tempies,
Yes. Oh my god.
the temporarily well.
Right. One day it'll catch up to them. I don't know if it will.
Because you were like all week you were messaging me and you're like, I can't. They just don't get it.
No.
I'm like, I know they're not
Yeah.
gonna get it.
Yep.
You just have to figure out how to exist in their world.
Right. Well, and it's like, so they sent me traveling, and I got back, and I spent so it was a 3-day weekend
Hmm.
that weekend, which is good. So thank God for that, because I would not have made it otherwise. And then it's just a lot of like, and then she went to work. And then at work, you have to like either pretend to be normal so that you don't make other people uncomfortable, or make other people uncomfortable and then get angry because they're uncomfortable.
Right.
And that's where I lie, is like, I'm not going to mask for you anymore because I've had it with masking. And if I don't like live genuinely, I will be unhappy and everyone around me will be unhappy. Because that's how that works.
Right.
So yes, we're talking about dealing with the well people. And starting kind of with
Amen.
Do you want to do misrepresentations in media, or do you want to jump into our own interactions?
I don't have a lot of great examples for media. I mean, you pulled up some, like
I
generic ones, but
Yeah.
I think if I can jump in,
Oh,
I think we
absolutely.
should do our experiences first, and then if we end up doing like an after the break, I
Yes.
think that'll be good for media
Perfect.
representation.
Mhm.
Good deal. Okay. So we'll just jump into kind of dealing with the well people as far as it goes with our experience. And some of the things that we've had to face and like muscle through or teach other people how to deal with us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard because sometimes you find your people. But other times you're surrounded by people who are like, I don't understand why you can't just like take some Tylenol.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Kaylee.
no.
I don't remember. I have a headache and I forget Tylenol exists.
Me too.
Jen
Like,
does that
there's
too.
a
It's so,
solution?
like,
What?
You
I
could take
have
the
a headache,
pills.
and it's like, have you taken anything for it? I'm like, I guess that is an option, huh?
I have a good example of this from today because I was
yeah.
talking to a friend and I was like, he's like, so what are you doing today? And I was like, well, I'm gonna go film a podcast. And I was explaining what the podcast was because this is a fairly new friend. And I was like, yeah, it's about like living and existing with being chronically ill in a world that's not made for chronically ill people. And he was like, Are you sick? Are you sicker than I thought you were? And I was like, no, it's like what I've talked to you about, where it's just like my body doesn't do the things that bodies are supposed to do, and I shake and I have POTS and I have these things that I deal with, and it's hard to be in a world that doesn't accommodate those things. And he was like, well, when you call it chronic illness, it sounds like it's terminal. And I was like, it is like, it is a terminal thing. Like, this is what
It will go on until I die.
it's gonna keep going and just keep being a thing. And he was like, well, but it sounds like way more serious that way. And I was like, I understand.
Write it down.
I understand what you're saying,
It is serious.
but it is serious.
Mhm.
And it is like a thing that I'm going to be dealing with for the foreseeable future until somebody figures out how to cure POTS. Like, it's not.
Could you imagine the day when they cure POTS?
Right.
You can just exist.
I don't have to pass out 3 times a day? What?
You don't have to. I mean, as long as we still get the choice, because I kind of enjoy it. You know, like,
It's like that girl who's like, passing out feels good. And you're like,
no.
what?
Makes me feel alive.
What? I was like, were you on drugs when you passed out? Maybe it was the drugs that felt good, because passing out does not feel
Passing
good.
out sucks so bad.
Oh,
It hurts. You're sweaty. You
You're
don't know what's
sweaty.
going on.
Mhm.
and confused and like. you
And
wake
people
up all
around you are
defensive.
scared, and
Yeah.
you have to comfort them because
That's
they're freaked
irritating.
out.
Mhm.
And it's like, I'm the one who just lost consciousness. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Yes.
I get the shakes when I black out too. So I turn
Yes.
into like just a giant mess. And the kids watch it and they're like, you okay? Are you okay?
Oh,
And like, I'm not there.
To
and they
be
keep
like,
at,
oh, yeah, yeah, I
like,
can't
are you
hear
okay?
anything.
What's going on? Are you okay? And I'm like, and
Well,
then
that
I come
happens.
back and
Well, that happens if you have to have floor time at work, and I typically try to get myself there. So when people are like, "Is she?" and I'm like, "Leave
fine,
it.
go
She's
away.
fine. Go away. I am
Mhm.
monitoring her heart rate. I'm monitoring if
Just point
she's flushing.
and laugh.
Just go
That's
do
the
your
correct
thing."
response. Is you point, you laugh, and then you leave. That's what I need from you people. They're like, that's mean, and I'm like, I don't care.
Then just walk away.
Right. Follow the rules or go away. I don't know what to tell you.
yeah.
Yeah. No, especially when it, like, that day last year, I think, when I was super tacky and people kept walking in trying to do something about it. And I'm like, it just has to pass. There's nothing you can do about it. And then the nurse asked me what I needed. And I just went, death? Because, like, don't try to talk to me while I'm all tacky and passing out
Yeah.
and laying on the floor with my head or my legs propped up and be like, can I do anything for you? No, I want you to go away. And then she was like, are you suicidal? I was like, no. I'm committed to being here, but if death is like on at the table, like as an option, like it's awfully tempting.
Well, that's because this new friend that I've just been talking to, I was like trying to explain on Monday, like,
Mhm.
I've been shaking for 15 hours. And he's like, you haven't gone to the hospital?
Oh
And I'm
my
like,
God.
I need to train you to understand.
Mhm.
Like, you have to, because here's the thing. A Tempe, if they shake for more than 5 minutes, is going to be like, get in the car. We have to
Oh,
go
yeah.
to the
Yeah.
But like, 15 hours? Okay. Like,
Well-
it's shitty and bad, but also it's my week.
Right.
Also, like, they act like it's this great option to go and get checked out when
Yeah.
it's not. Because how many times have we seen people on like TikTok where the doctors are like, don't come in for chronic conditions. This is for emergencies only. Your chronic illness is not an emergency. And so what are your options? You deal with it at home because you know what it is and it's fine.
Mhm.
It just sucks. Or you go to the hospital to be ridiculed, called a faker, called a liar, like told that you're out for attention,
Yep.
and then reprimanded because your chronic illness doesn't qualify for help.
because you're med seeking or because you're
Oh, yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
the thing, and it's like, cool, then I'm just gonna stay at home. But then it's like, no, but you didn't go to the doctor. You didn't have a doctor look at you in the face and tell you that this is
Right?
weird.
They're like,
You should leave.
We can give you an IV if you really want, but
It's
Right.
gonna be
I
$3
don't know.
million.
it's also going to be 7 hours.
Oh yeah, no, you're gonna be there forever.
Yeah. So like I fell yesterday and I didn't go get checked out because they were like, are you sure you don't want to? And I was like, no, it's fine. Because I don't want to. I'm not going to go get checked out by Concentra who don't actually care about you
Right.
at all. And wait 4 hours to do it to have them be like, yeah, you fell. I know I fell. It's fine. I'll
It's-
figure out what's wrong with me in a couple of days.
It's the same way when people are like, well, at what point do I call an ambulance? You don't.
No, don't ever.
You don't call an ambulance.
Let me die here.
Yeah.
like,
It's on my medical sheet that like, don't call an ambulance. Do not call an ambulance because we're not doing that game. Mm-mm.
like
So if I pass out, you leave me the fuck alone.
leave. Am I breathing? Then this is fairly run of the mill.
Mhm.
Like, just let me do the thing that I need to do, and then I will be back in a second.
Yep. Like I have to go be in agony now. I'll be right back. Hold on. But they panic and they're like, well, and that made me think. So you were talking about your new friend being like, oh, well, if you call it a chronic illness, it sounds dire. And you're like, no, it describes exactly what it is, which is a illness that is perpetual.
It's not my fault
It
you
is
don't understand
chronic.
the terminology.
Right? Well, I was watching something about how neurodivergents tend to be more straightforward in their communication,
Mhm.
Yeah.
whereas neurotypical people read between the lines of everything but never say what they mean.
That makes sense.
And so when we speak, they assume we mean something else.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that's annoying because I'm like, no, I literally said exactly the words that I needed to communicate to you.
Oh, I hate
There's
that.
nothing in between it. That's it. Here you go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, don't make me read your mind, and you're not going to read mine because I'm going to tell you exactly what's
Well,
going
and
on.
then okay, you like read their mind, and then what you're gonna be able to put the right sentence together so they read
Right?
between the lines the correct thing.
Yeah.
Like
Why? Why?
so much
For what
effort.
purpose? Just say
It's-
what you mean. Communicate. Jeez.
It's the other side of having to like do things for the comfort of other people,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
like having to, because then it's like, well, I'm scared because you're behaving this way, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay,
you
cool.
made
Now
me
I
really uncomfortable.
now
when you
I
were in
have
pain.
to comfort you and make sure that you know that it's okay.
Mhm.
Also, I'm on the floor.
right.
No, that's exactly how it is. That's like when I fell. It wasn't like I need to make sure I'm okay. It was like, nope, I'm good. It's fine. Don't look at me. Child, don't freak out. It's okay.
Well, the kids
It's all
usually
good.
do better anyways, right?
The kids always do better.
Like even my
Always.
kids, like I blacked out the other night, like a couple months ago. Woke
Yeah.
up on the floor, and Sophie came out of her room. Was like, "You okay?" I was like, "Yeah, just blacked out." She's like, "Cool." I went to bed.
Because, and that's the thing is like, this is the reason that exposure is so important. Because when people aren't exposed to people who are ill and illness as a whole, it becomes this really foreign thing and people become othered for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Whereas you're like, this should just be an installation in society that we see and we're like, cool, chronic illnesses exist and we can respect them.
Well,
But instead it's like, oh, if you tell me you're ill, clearly you must be dying.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, I'm not a cat. I'm not going to hide it until I'm like gasping for air. What? But that's what they want.
but the other thing with that is the like, it's next time just say you're fine.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't really want to know. But there's also the thing of like, and I saw a thing about this on TikTok recently, and I don't know what the actual like research of it is, but
Yeah.
the idea of like neurodivergent people struggling with empathy is like completely the opposite.
Yes.
It's neurotypical people that don't know how to do empathy
Yes.
because if you try to explain your situation to a neurotypical person, at least in my experience, they're like, I have never experienced this, therefore I have no
Yeah.
idea on
Right,
how
they-
to even like react to it.
Right. Or
Whereas-
they minimize because they're like, I've never seen anything that bad, so clearly it can't be that bad.
Well, yeah, they try and frame it through their point of view
Exactly.
when they don't have one.
Right. When you're like, dude, you are missing a ton of the world right
Mhm.
now
because it's tunnel vision. It's
Yeah.
like, this is what my experience is, and my experience is the universal experience.
right.
And anytime somebody tries to like be like, actually, no, I go through things this way, the cognitive dissonance is too much, and they just shut down. Whether that's shutting down and being like, you're weird, you stay over there, or it's like, I don't think it's actually that bad, because you can't really be like relocating your joints all the time, because if I dislocated my shoulder, I'd have to go to the hospital, and it's like,
Exactly. And you're like,
nose first into the point. Like, no, you fell directly into it and still
missed
nothing.
it.
Yeah.
You spoke it from your mouth and then missed the point anyway. Hey guys, did you know that Fantastic Pains now has a website? On our website, you can find our shop, where we will be opening up for custom t-shirts and orders there. You can also find access to our PayPal, winky wink. You can buy us a coffee anytime. We would love that. You can also see some of our blog articles, access to recent episodes and our TikTok, and get in contact with us.
You can also find a link to our Discord, which is getting updated pretty soon to include new channels and some games. We would also like to thank our producer for setting up the website. Thank you for supporting us, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Indeed. Thank you. No, it's like when I had our coworker tell me, because that was the time I almost degloved my finger.
Oh, yeah.
And he was just like, I'm surprised that hurt you. Like, nothing hurts you. And when I recounted that story, Bamar actually spoke up and she was like, no, everything still hurts you. You're just used to it. It doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt now. It doesn't mean that the pain goes away because you're used to it. You're just used to it.
Yep.
Well, that's when I have to explain that, like, yeah, just because my norm is to shake and seize and not be totally cognizant of it,
it's fun.
doesn't mean that it's just like chill and cool and isn't scary and isn't like
exhausting,
painful and
awful.
exhausting.
Yeah.
Like, just because it happens a whole lot doesn't mean that it's any easier to sit and like deal with on, like, even if it's not on a physical level, the emotional toll of that happening and the emotional toll of being a sick person, especially in a world that is just like, you're not sick enough. But also, if you are sick enough, I don't want to see it.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
We've said for years that, like, people are uncomfortable with other people's pain. It's like there's some empathetic disconnect where, and I see this more and more with people who have to like normalize their own pain and their own trauma, and then with people who haven't experienced any of it. So you have two camps. You have the camp that experienced it but shut up the whole time, and so now they're angry and bitter and they want you to shut up also because I went through that and I didn't blah 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 blah, so therefore you're fine. That's not fair, and that's not a logical way to think, or a reasonable way to think even. But those are the two kind of camps of people that we have to contend with at any given point. And I think it's harder with the people who are like, well, I've never experienced anything bad, so bad things don't happen in the world.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of like the parent thing of being like, well, I went through it and I turned out fine, and it's like, you didn't.
I mean,
You
look
did
at
not
Go to
turn out
therapy.
fine.
Yeah.
Dad. Like, clearly you didn't turn out fine, my guy.
Yeah.
But it's the same kind of thing of like, well, but I went through bad things, and therefore, because I handled it, I handled it.
Bottled
You should
it up.
also
It's
be
almost
able to
this
handle
like
it.
jealousy over the fact that we have more access to being out of masking, right?
Yes.
We have developed just the frustration. We have like generational frustration where we're like, I'm not playing stupid games anymore. But they played the stupid games, and now it's like, well, I can't access that care because it's too late. I can't access that empathy because it's too late. And so now I'm mad and angry and jealous of your opportunity to access all of that. So we're shutting it down.
And like, another good example of it is the time that a coworker of ours was like, yeah, the kids said something weird about you being out a lot, and like how it's not fair that they're expected to be here but you're not here. And that was an upsetting thing to hear, clearly. And when I got upset, then he was like, ugh, why are you crying? Why are you upset? I didn't mean to I didn't mean it like that.
But also
God.
comfort me, because
But
now
also-
I feel really badly that I hurt you. But also, it's all still about me.
It's all about me.
Mhm.
And it's all about my comfort level, and it's
Yeah.
all about my ability to stay inside this weird little bubble of like my own version of reality.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the other thing with people who are well people or people who are normal, like neurotypical, where it's like, I want to stay inside this bubble of my own reality,
Mhm.
and anything that is outside the realm of like my realm of reference for what reality is bad and weird and other, and you should stay over
And
there
scary.
and scary, and I don't want to see it,
Yeah.
and shut up and don't talk about it.
Yep. Yeah. It's a lot of it. No, it's... And then they just... It's hard because most people, won't ask the questions that they need to ask to understand.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to me because the kids will.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, our students will, and they understand what I'm going through at any point, and they will tell other students what's going on. Or I get like super sweet texts from my sweet boy who is like, Miss, if you don't feel good, it's okay if you don't come in today. He's
Aw.
like, you should go home if you're not feeling good. Like, that sounds like it sucks. And that's terrible that you have to go through that.
I wish
And you're like-
managers were like that.
Right?
What?
Yeah,
What?
because the kids, our population of kids,
They have
They-
a big enough frame of reference
and they
for
understand
shitty.
they understand
Yeah.
shitty, bad, ucky.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a lot of the people that we work with don't.
Mhm.
And it's this weird, like, square peg, round hole thing.
Rosy glasses in the mix. And,
Yes.
Yeah.
See, I don't understand how that works.
Hmm.
How you could have so many people, like the adults in the situation, be that disconnected from the
Oh, yeah.
population.
Oh, yeah.
That hurts my brain. Because it's like,
Well, part of it is because and this isn't like a dig on anybody, but they're not building deep enough relationships to have kids trust them with that trauma.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so they're not hearing it from the kids. And then they're confused as to why the kids would be telling us.
Yes.
And I think in their brains, there's part of this like, oh, well, you're like leading them into it or something. You know, when people are like, well, you asked leading questions or something along that
Right.
line. But half the time we don't ask any questions. We're like, how are you? Are you doing okay? Is there anything that you need? Tell me what's going on, because today was weird and you're acting a little out of sorts. Are you all right? And then you hear all of the trauma.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like we go digging for it. We're not like, hello, child. Instantly tell me everything about you, including your deepest
Did
fears and
something
traumas.
bad happen to you at
Yeah.
home this weekend?
Yeah.
Every
Are
weekend?
your parents beating you?
Yeah.
Oh.
But that's kind of how I feel like it's viewed. And last year we had a lot of people saying that like staff are too involved with
Yeah.
the kids, and you're like, but here's the thing, we are oftentimes the very first adult relationships that they have that are positive in any way.
Yeah.
A lot of the time they've come from places where the adults don't hear them out, they don't listen, and they don't care what's going on in their world. And so they keep it to themselves because they're like, adults don't care.
Right.
Adults don't care about me, so why would I trust them with this really sensitive, vulnerable information?
Yeah.
Wow. What a concept.
And I think the other side of like the people not understanding and well people not understanding is the like solution bombing
Yes.
and the like,
Oh, God.
if you did this it would fix it, if
Yeah.
you did this it would fix it, if you just need to drink more water, and it's like, I know I need to drink more water, that is not going to stop my seizing.
Right.
I
Yeah.
promise you, me drinking water right now is just gonna
Yeah.
make me choke.
But have you tried
Well-
crackers?
right. Well,
From
and
what I've read, crackers fix everything.
I was playing the
My God.
tacky game, so
Yeah.
my heart was doing the yo-yo thing,
Yeah.
and our boss walks up to us because you were with me.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Have you eaten? You probably need
Oh
to
my
eat. That's probably why this is happening. Food is medicine." And I was just like,
My
"No."
heart rate's going from 140 to 80, like this.
and then back and forth.
So I can't really
So-
eat right now if you don't want me to throw up.
But you need to eat because that's why that's happening. No, it's not.
Well, like you're not aware.
God.
Like you just, oh yeah,
Right.
food?
Well,
I
that's-
totally
I've
forgot.
never tried that before.
That's the other thing of like, well, have you tried Like,
I have been living this life for so long. Bet you I've tried it.
because it's never anything groundbreaking or novel. It's always
Right.
just like, have you thought about breathing?
Have you
How
done
do you
yoga?
Have you tried some breathing exercises? Yes. Again, breathing, great. I love breathing. Breathing is fantastic. It's not going to stop my body from seizing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, no, I get have you tried yoga? And then I get like what are some of the other ones? Oh, acupuncture. Everybody wants to tell you that acupuncture will save the day and solve everything. And I'm like, yes, I've done acupuncture and it didn't have any effect at all. I also really don't like having spasms with acupuncture needles in my muscles. That hurts a lot and I'm not going to do it anymore.
Yeah.
But they're like, well, have you tried? Did you try? I have this guy and he has magical like solution pills. He might try to get you in on his multi-level marketing scheme though. So you have to like be pretty firm with him that you really just want the pills and you don't really want to participate.
And also the pills,
no.
just green tea.
Exactly.
It's just green tea in a capsule
Fish oil.
and that's it.
That's it.
And it's not going to do anything and it tastes bad. So
all around it's a loss.
Yeah. What are some of the dumb solutions that you've been offered?
My favorite one was I have EDS, so I used the keto diet, and it cured my EDS.
Meat. It's medicine.
Meat is medicine. I don't know.
No.
Jen's mom has tried all sorts of these like radical different pills. Like there were mushroom spores at one point,
Oh yeah.
and some of those like crazy, just weirdly named ones that are
Yeah.
just full of like gelatin. Like, oh,
They're
thank
like
you.
these magic capsules full of fish oil,
Indescript
and,
thing.
seawater,
The tears
and
of
some
babies.
Jordan Sea, like the mud from the Jordan River. You gotta
mercury,
swallow
maybe. Heavy metals. Have you tried
it.
lead?
Dolphins.
Those ones really helped.
I
The
just-
lead.
Dolphins.
I just
I
heard
stopped
that
carrying.
there's actually really high levels of heavy metal in like pink Himalayan salt.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like absurdly high levels of
There's
lead.
also high levels of
Shit.
lead in some dark chocolates.
yum yum.
So that's a fun
Delicious.
thing that I heard about on a medical podcast I listened to.
Mhm.
Do you want to know what my favorite what you should do response has been
Oh no.
of ever? Picture it. I'm 17. I'm having a full tilt seizure on a church bathroom floor
Oh,
in the
God.
church
Oh,
basement
God. Oh,
bathroom.
Oh no.
And the pastor's wife comes to the bathroom door, will not come in because seeing them freaks her out. So she's
She
screaming.
doesn't want to be uncomfortable.
She's screaming through the bathroom door. Like it's
Pray the gay away.
it's literally she's like, I think if you started praying now and you prayed harder, it would stop sooner.
You have a demon in you, and that's why
Yeah.
this is happening.
And then another church lady
Have you
comes
tried
up
an exorcism?
and is like, "Hey, what's going on?" And the pastor's wife's like, "She's just like,
she's being very dramatic.
there's something
right
going
now.
on." And she's like, "Go get her grandma so she can go." What are you talking about? Like she's having a medical episode.
Oh my god.
But
There's
if
just
you
something
prayed, it
wrong.
would stop.
Yeah,
It's just your sin coming out.
yeah.
You're leaking sin everywhere. Stop
it's
it.
gross.
At least you were doing it in the bathroom.
Right?
Right?
Yeah.
That's where you are supposed to release your sin, right?
That's where I release
God.
my sin.
God. Yeah, no, I've heard all kinds of things. And then people are like, let's lay hands on. And then afterward, my favorite one is when they like look at you and they're like, is it better
So,
now?
did-
Did we fix it? And you're like,
Mass hysteria didn't fix
No,
anything.
We did it. We healed you. Go
your
home.
speaking in tongues did not fix my migraine. Thanks.
In fact, my head hurts worse.
Mm-hmm.
Also, now my soul is dirty and I need to go home and bathe in bleach.
It's just, again, it's never anything new.
No.
It's always
But
the
they act
same.
like it's revolutionary. Like, oh, maybe you've never tried this before. What? No, I've been alive for a minute.
Well, Neil,
I've
they all
tried
know.
a lot of things.
They don't just suspect; they know the answer,
Yeah.
and they're
Oh,
going to
yeah.
present it to you, and it's going to change everything.
Yeah.
And they're going to be the hero.
Oh, and then they're going to give it to you every time they see you,
Mhm.
or anytime you're acting up. Is like, oh, remember that solution? Did you ever try that? Because I really think that if you did, it would fix it. Like the guy who was like, stem cells, and I was like, no. Blueprint for collagen broken. stem cells, no fix it.
No.
You need a new blueprint.
There was a
He
really
was
big
like,
push
it's gonna
for
be
stem cells.
$3,000, and then
Like,
I was like, no.
Two or 3 years ago, there was
yeah.
just huge push in Denver for like pain management to be done with stem cells. Like they
Jesus.
were making
They're
bank.
like, it's magic, and you're like,
No, it's not.
It's not.
No, my first pain management clinic suggested it, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? Are you being serious right now?"
Would you like to pay $3,000 for this weird thing that is probably not going to have an effect?
Mm.
And then he tried to get me with the what ifs. That was the thing. He's like, but what if?
And then you look at him.
But
We
what
don't deal
if?
in what
Yeah.
ifs.
And I was like, it won't. The end.
Mhm.
So, no, thank you. But what if? What if you're walking away from a possible cure? And I'm like,
What if you're not as stupid as you seem?
I am not looking for a cure. Oh, and when people try to like, I hope they find a cure soon. And you're like, shut up.
People don't even know it exists.
Shut up.
Right.
People don't even believe it's real. Don't tell me that they're gonna find a cure for a thing when they're just like, I don't even know if this is.
medical professionals
Yeah.
telling you they haven't even heard of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or medical professionals being like,
You're weird.
this is a weird presentation of this, and you're like, so is it maybe not
That?
this thing because it's doesn't present this way in most people? And they're like, but the other options, you're too young.
Always
Yeah.
age gated out of having any condition.
Yep. Well, and that's the thing, like gatekeeping disability, icky. Stop that. Like I've had people watch me in my car when I do the placards, and just I get the nastiest looks. Or when I was at the airport with Bamar, walking with my cane, I get the nastiest looks. Like they're like, I'm old and I don't even have a cane, and you're like, good for you, Susan. I'm so
Congratulations.
glad for you.
Respect
I
the
need
drip,
this
Karen.
right now. Go away.
Well, because it's the thing of like, well, you don't look like
yeah,
it.
exactly.
Like you don't look.
You don't look sick.
You don't look sick.
You look fine.
You don't look like you're on the spectrum because you like have a job and you can make eye contact, and it's like I've had 24 years of learning how to pretend to do that, and I still can't actually do it. I just do it enough to pretend.
Mhm. When I worked at a middle school, I had a kid who, like, way on the spectrum, very obvious, but super sarcastic, very funny.
Mhm.
And then I had a mental health professional. No, it wasn't. It was the physical therapist who I was talking to about him. And she goes, he uses sarcasm? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, are you sure he's autistic?
Oh my
and I was
God.
like,
Because
go away.
the parameters for what qualifies as different aspects of being neurodivergent have all been put together by neurotypical people.
Yep.
The bases and the baselines and all of the studies have been done by neurotypical people, and they're like, oh, this is not how I do this, therefore it must be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
True.
And then you have to go get diagnosed by a neurotypical person who's an expert.
Well, and if you're an adult, you have to pay, again, like $5,000 to do so.
Mhm.
Which is
If you would
why
like to do so.
I don't have a paper diagnosis of being autistic,
Yeah.
but I can tell you for sure that I am, based
Right.
on the everything about me.
Right.
But then all the doctors are like, the only way we can actually write this on a piece of paper is if you pay us
An
$5,000.
ungodly amount of money.
And also you're going to have to wait 9 to 12 months.
Yep.
Is that something you want to pursue? And it's like,
it's gonna be 12 years.
I might as well go get a degree.
and then I can
diagnose
do it myself.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could do that. You're like, I went and got a degree, and I definitely have this. I'm the expert, and I said so.
Will that be
I don't
counted
know.
as like fishing for your own answer though?
I have no idea.
Like forcing your answer?
Ugh.
Because that's what we do in our community. Remember, we're
my
just
God.
we
Pushing
talk
an
people into
agenda.
getting yeah.
it's
You're pushing an agenda.
Was it Emma James? Emma.
Yeah, the article
Somebody-
that was like people in the
Yeah.
Spoonie group just talk to each other about how to get what they want.
Yeah, they teach
Gross.
each other how to lie to doctors to get the diagnosis they're seeking. And we're like, no.
Yeah.
No. But in that vein of things, like when you, because Ruth was also talking about this, when you have to like discard old diagnoses,
hmm
how do you go about doing that in regards to the well people? How do you like
You just don't tell the well people.
dissipate, right?
You just cut them out
That's what I was
completely.
thinking.
Them in there well.
Yeah. Because like otherwise you look like you're just seeking out
Right.
answers, but you're like either you're too fickle right? Like you're like, oh, it's this, and it's always something new with you.
Yes, I hated.
There's
hearing that
always
one.
something
Oh my
wrong.
God.
Why is
Right.
it always something? I don't know, because I'm sick. Because I'm sick and nobody wants to take
And
3
that's
seconds to figure out what is
how it
actually
works.
Mhm.
happening.
Exactly.
And just because you find out what is happening does not mean that I'm not sick anymore.
Right.
Yep.
Your illness is really inconvenient, and I'm getting kind of bored hearing about it. So
I'm
if
getting
you could
bored.
just
I'm sorry. I'll
Stop.
spice it up a little bit.
with the
Actually,
new
could you?
diagnoses.
Yeah, I'm gonna dislocate both my shoulders and spin in circles. Maybe that'll entertain you.
Yes.
Polar vortex.
And
Yeah.
then he's going to pass out.
Oh, of course.
I don't see how
For
you could
fun.
do that without passing out.
Yep.
But as long as it's entertaining, right? Like,
Right.
you gotta keep EDS fresh.
As
Gotta-
long as it's cool and fun for
Hip
people
it
to
with
watch
it.
and experience.
God. Or if you you need to keep it to yourself.
The ratings
Yeah.
are down.
Oh, shit.
EDS's ratings are always down.
Yeah, it's you need to keep it to yourself, but then I don't believe that you have it.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite response was after my major tacky episode, where
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
someone goes, "So how do we keep that from happening again?" And I was
Get
just
rid of
like,
me.
Fire me, I guess.
What?
Close your eyes.
Like, excuse me, your illness is really disruptive to the environment.
How do we keep that from
How
happening again?
how do we make that not happen again?
Rude.
I'm like, we don't. She's like, well, is it like your blood sugar? You need to eat more often. And I'm like, no, stop coming back to the blood sugar, because it's not the blood sugar. I swear to God, I will end you all.
Because it's outside of what their version of reality is.
Yeah.
So they're just like, well, here are the things that help me when I don't feel good. And it's like your version of not feeling good and my version of not feeling good, two wildly different things. Because by your standards, I never feel good.
right.
And I don't. But also, like,
It has to be relative, or I lay in bed all day and don't do anything.
it's like the talk about anxiety baselines
Mm-hmm.
of like, yes, if my baseline for being anxious is a 7, but a 7 for neurotypical people would be total full tilt spiraling.
Right.
Like, yes, you're not going to totally understand it because
Mhm.
you have no frame of reference for like how bad and shitty it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then the response to that is always like, well, but I don't know.
It's like, I'm going to say a thing here, and this might be a thing, or it might make people angry. It's like toxic chiropractor culture.
Yeah.
That's always where I get the like worst advice, is like where either A, a chiropractor says it directly to me, or B, someone is talking about the things their chiropractor told them, and they're like, well, doctors don't want you to know, but
Well-
chiropractors have the secret, and they could blah, 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 blah,
We
blah,
grew
blah,
up in
blah.
a toxic chiropractic situation
Yes.
where
Like-
all doctors were replaced by
Oh my
chiropractors who
God.
never saw you or just talked about you third hand.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we'd always be, oh, we need to get you in to see so and so because
God.
no, this is actually a thing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I actually have the flu. You're not going to fix me.
Like, I
Right?
don't think the chiropractor's gonna do anything for your bleeding stomach ulcers.
Or my broken
It was
kneecap.
suggested though.
I believe it.
It was
I
suggested.
believe it.
Oh my God. But that's the thing, like when it is truly physical, and this, I did experience this with, so the new, I have a new like Google aha moment where, so I was looking into why like the trigger points are so impactful, and we learned, I want to see if it's open. It might be, might not be. Where the heck is it, man? Okay, so symphysis pubis dislocation. And that is absolutely what's happening in my pelvis, and it makes perfect sense, and I'm following all of these dots, and it's not just like we shuffle from one thing to another. It's like you literally have to go on the hunt,
Mhm.
and sometimes it's for years. Like sometimes you're like, I'm going to run with this one, but it doesn't quite fill all the criteria, and then you find a new one and you're like, ah, that's much better.
Right.
And then you move on, and you move on to that one.
Well, it also doesn't help that some diagnoses are throwaway diagnoses.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Like
Fibromyalgia.
fibromyalgia. And also I was told for years that it was oh my God, what's it called?
Panic attacks.
No, not that it's like that it's
Conversion.
conversion
Oh
syndrome,
yeah.
which turns out that just means we don't know. That literal, like, the literal means
we don't know, and we think it's in your head.
Well,
Yes.
we don't know, and we're not going to try.
Yeah.
we don't know, we're not going to try. And even, like, my neurological diagnosis right now is, like, non-specific shaking. Because they don't know that it's non-epileptic,
So
but they don't know...
they could read it and interpret it as maybe you just have the rhythm in you,
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm just super groovy.
right?
I mean, I kind of like that.
But, like, on my documentation to do this time off, it's, like, non-specific
Yeah.
spasming.
Unspecified, like,
And, like,
non-epileptic seizures. That's what's happening.
and there are so many... I just found out because I was talking to the EMU nurse that, like, there's a pretty recently discovered thing that's cardiac syncope that can cause seizure-like activity. It's like a specific branch of cardiac syncope of, like,
Yeah.
if you have really bad tachycardia, sometimes it like has to do with tachycardia plus, like, especially if you have troubles with, like, the autonomic system,
Mhm.
those things can come together and you can have seizure-like activity.
Well, it makes sense too, because like we will hit points where something's happening in the body and we know that like spasming is starting. We get like these spasm storms. And for me, like, I know if I get up and I give the body a job, it's less impactful. But it's that same, like, your body is trying to regulate so hard that
Mhm.
it's freaking out.
It's almost overcorrecting.
Yes. Yeah, because it's like, I don't know. It's like shock, basically. Like how shock is an overcorrection of something. And the body's like, oh, we have all this adrenaline and we don't know what to do with it. And here you go.
Yeah,
Have fun.
because I dump adrenaline because when I went and got labs done, I don't know if I told you this,
Mm.
but when I went and got labs done, they were like, your cortisol levels are way too high.
Mhm.
So maybe you have Cushing's. So then they checked to see if the cortisol producing hormone was what was messed up, but it wasn't. So they were like, okay, it's not Cushing's then. And I was like, what? But my cortisol levels are still really, really high. So
Yeah.
what do we do about that? And they were like,
It's because you're anxious.
it's because you're anxious. We don't know.
Right.
Great, but my cortisol levels, like high cortisol levels, can cause
Yeah.
seizure-like activity and spasms.
Mhm.
Maybe there's a line there that we should be connecting. And the doctor was like, but you're young.
Yeah.
I'm also
know!
having seizures.
Yeah. Well, it's like when I saw my pain doctor and she backtracked from putting me on the low dose naltrexone.
Right. Yeah.
Because she was, and this is what bothers me. So I think I figured out the magic search term, right? And I think I know what it is now. And it's absolutely a physical problem. She keeps going back to, well, I think the abdominal stuff is systemic, which really what she's saying is, I think it's due to your trauma.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm like, but they won't treat beyond that because they don't know what it is. And so they're like, it must be your trauma and you should do therapy. And I'm like, I've been in therapy. I've done therapy for years, in fact. I can talk circles around my therapists. And then they're like, well, this was productive. Bye.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad we cured you.
Yeah, we did great, didn't we?
But then it's always blamed on like, oh, it's systemic. Like it's your body holding on to the trauma, which does happen. Absolutely, that happens. But when it's something that you're like, no, this is a real physical thing that is hurting me and causing distress, and you want to come back to, it's because someone abused you when you were young. You're like, no.
That's part of the reason that I started the CPT therapy with my therapist. But even before we started it, he was like, I'm going to be real with you. This is not the way it typically presents in people. Like I have been in the game for long enough to see a lot of different patients, and I've never had a patient that has these seizing episodes strictly because of trauma.
Yeah. Right.
I'm sure your trauma does not help the anxiety part of it.
Yeah.
But
Well, before we met, they were labeled as panic attacks.
yes.
Like they were calling the seizures panic attacks. And then, I don't know, I got in there and was like, Summer, these are not panic attacks.
And I had been saying that for years, but nobody listened to me until I knew the right way to say it.
Right.
Because you say, no, I don't think that's what it is. And they're like, no, but
Right.
the doctor said it was.
Yeah.
Great. The same doctor that had me on Xanax at 15?
which is a horrible
Sick.
idea.
Which is a terrible bad idea, and also
messes up your brain chemistry
and your metabolism and your everything.
Everything, yeah.
yeah, and your ability to self-regulate. Like, it's just
Because I was just a
Stop.
zombie.
yeah.
Mhm.
I was a zombie for like 4 years, and then they were like, "Why are you still shaking?" And I was like, "I can't feel anything. I don't know."
frustrating. Yeah, it's hard to get through that because they don't get it. And it's like well people gatekeeping disability, disabled people gatekeeping disability, doctors gatekeeping disability, our therapists gatekeeping like disability. Who was it I saw? I think it was the pain doctor who said the word disability but then
Backtrack. Like, yeah.
like hard too. She's like, but I mean it's not, but I mean you like you live with it, so it's a and I was like, no, it's a disability, it's a disorder, it's a condition, it's all of those things.
Mhm.
Why would I be afraid or like ashamed of hearing that? This is normal stuff.
That's why anytime I, in passing to the wrong people, refer to myself as disabled, people are like, no, but you can.
No, you're not disabled.
You know who gets to decide? Not you guys. Like, you guys don't get to tell me that it's not enough of a because it's always like, well, but you do enough. You're functional
Do
enough.
Yeah.
Right.
You have a job.
You barely function, but you're functioning.
You pay your rent. Great. I'm still disabled.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's it's not a mean, dirty word.
Right. Well, and I think that's the big one is people are like super skittish about using it, and then they get skittish about other people using it because they feel like it's a bad thing to
But
be
it's
disabled.
like when somebody asks you to, you're not white, Karina.
Oh my god, that was funny. Did I tell you about that?
Yeah.
Oh, that was great.
But it's the same kind of thing of like, no, but I can, if it's coming from me, I'm allowed to, like,
Yeah.
we had to do a thing at work where we had to describe ourselves in 3 words. And
Oh yeah.
I was like, strange and whatever, and somebody was like, you are strange. And I was like, great, cool. And then they were like, well, but I don't mean,
Yeah.
don't couch. I'm weird. It's fine. If you're going to commit to calling me weird,
Commit.
first of all, commit. Second
Commit
of all,
to the bit.
shut up. Like,
Right.
either do or don't.
But that's the thing is like, and all of this I feel like stems from the lack of exposure to diverse needs and the like, I don't know, it's almost like people shelter their children from disability,
Mhm.
right? They're like, oh, don't look, don't stare, because curiosity is curbed, right? From a very young age, and they're like, don't talk about
That's so
it.
weird too.
Don't
Like,
don't look at them.
honestly, if a little
don't-
kid came up to me and was like, "What's up with you?" I'd be like, "Oh, it's
Yeah.
this."
I'm gonna explain it.
Yeah.
Well, and our kids, half of them are like, oh, I won't say anything. And half of them are like, what happened to you? And I'm like, oh, it's this. And they're like, that sucks. And I'm like, yes,
Yep.
it does. And then you move on. But if we are constantly cutting off that curiosity, then they're not learning about it, but they're also learning
To fear it.
exactly
Mhm.
and lessons.
You're building
that-
a stigma.
Exactly.
Which I think that, like, this current generation of kids coming up is
Dismantling that.
is
a little
dismantling that a little bit.
More. Yeah.
And I mean, it's the same thing as being a queer person.
Mhm.
And for years and years and years, nobody, don't say it, don't look at anybody, don't talk about it. You can't,
don't
I
ask, don't tell.
I don't care if you're
Yeah.
whatever, but don't do it in front.
Yeah.
Great. All you're doing is perpetuating what is already shit, bad, terrible
Right.
for the sake of your own comfort. But it's it's weird that it makes you uncomfortable. Why do you care?
Right.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. It's like, you are so uncomfortable about the idea of people with disabilities existing and being in the world and like having lives. Why do you care that much? It's a thing of like, well, but you get special treatment and you get this, and
I
it's
feel like part of it is like, I almost wonder if it makes them face their own mortality in a way.
oh, for sure it
and
does.
that
Mhm.
is an uncomfortable thought.
Reminder
because
that you're not
they-
always healthy.
Yeah,
Kind of
because
a,
they have an able body right now. And so if they have to see us, then that's uncomfortable. because
Does
like
that make you uncomfortable?
whatever.
All the time.
Oh, cool. Just making sure.
Other
It's
things,
okay
though.
with me that you're disabled. Just don't do it in front of me.
Yeah.
If you could stop having EDS in front of me,
What
please.
now, Kaylee?
Gang signs. Yay.
But it
Checkmate.
is that, because then there's that fear of like, well, what if I develop a thing?
Mhm.
And what if I become
Yeah.
whatever it like disabled or sick or whatever it is, and it
Well,
makes you have to realize like, would I be able to keep working? Would I be able to keep doing all of these things?
Mhm.
And it's like this weird, it's like a two-sided jealousy shame thing of like,
Some kind of backwards ass competition.
yes,
Mhm.
because everything is a competition and everything is it's always being stacked up against like
Yourself.
well, if
Right.
if I was in your situation, but you're not.
I would just,
Exactly.
I would just. And you're
Well,
like, shut up.
That's why I had the kids early this year. We watched the episode of MASH where they all have to share a tent
Mhm.
because we're in crisis mode, and I had them do a full like discussion and essay on like what happens when things go sideways. You think you will respond like this. How do you
Yeah.
actually respond?
Mhm.
And I had them like do a comparison thing, and they were like, "Oh, like this is why you can't tell people how you." And I'm exactly because you don't know.
Right.
You don't know what you would do in somebody else's situation.
Right. It's like criticizing people coming out of trauma or leaving abusive relationships.
Mhm.
And they're like, well, I don't know why you stayed so long. And you're like, right, you don't. So sit down. You don't get to tell people how they should have done whatever differently when they are the ones in the circumstances. I don't know. But I mean, we see it too with mental illness, where people have this idea about like, oh, well, everyone's depressed, or like, ugh, everyone is anxious these days. They're just, it's overdiagnosed, and you can't just blame everything on your anxiety. And so people see it as a cop-out and not as a life-affecting condition.
Like I was talking to my mom on the phone when I was in the grocery store, and I was like, I can't believe they did this. And she was like, what? And I was like, they changed my tomato sauce that I get, they changed the packaging, and I know it's the same sauce, but like, what if it's not the same sauce? And I was like, this is
The autism
this
kicking
is
in.
the entire, like, my autism button is getting hit in a really bad way. And she was like, oh, I do that. And I was like, do you know that it's a genetic thing,
Ducks
Mom?
make
And of
ducks.
course you have autism, like, obviously. And like, I've like, of course. And
Oh my God, I read an article
Yeah.
about like people's dads now realizing that they're autistic because their kids are coming out autistic, and they're like, oh
That
no,
explains some things.
I'm autistic.
Yeah.
I shouldn't just have 87 different books on World War I, and that's all I talk about.
Yeah.
It's that, and then I watch a bunch of like Pawn Stars, and that's all I experience.
Oh, I think Topher might be.
Yeah.
His 100+ dinosaur collection, they all have names.
Oh,
Of course.
And he made my sister learn them before he would marry her.
oh my God. That's
Wow.
amazing.
That's dedication.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
I might be autism.
Might be. You never know.
It's like you might be if blank.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
If blank, then you might be.
Yeah. You look a little fadey.
I'm very fadey.
Are you wanting to take a break?
I don't know.
And then we can come back and do media perspectives?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Probably.
Run the AC and get a snack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Snack was probably a good idea.
I'm also starting to shake, so
Fun.
we'll see what the result of that's going to be as well.
We could also
Okay.
call it.
It's up to you. Are you like that done?
I'm burned.
Okay.
I don't know why. It just hit me hard.
That's okay. We can do short episode.
It's not short. Maybe an hour long.
Okay.
I've been monitoring.
I
was like,
I don't know.
I don't
when
want to
we
do a short
started.
episode,
That's fine though.
but I get you.
Yeah. No, but I really I think the conversation is valuable.
Oh,
and
yeah.
There's a lot that can go into it, and
And I think representation in media could be, it's a whole other.
Yeah.
That's
Can
like
of
a sit down,
worms.
yeah.
that
Yeah.
might be a good idea. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Then I think we're gonna call it, so that our friends can fall apart.
We can all respectively fall to pieces.
It's time to stop being humans and puddle.
I'm gonna go take a nap.
Puddle
Hey.
time. Yeah. I might also go take a nap. I don't know what I want yet.
I'm gonna not take a nap
Like I said, I'm like all
I'm gonna
dysregulated
black out.
because
I'm
I
gonna
am
try not to
hurting.
take a nap. and then
Kind of
black
like a nap.
out. Yeah.
It's like a tiny nap.
It's a quick nap, and
It's a
also you're
very
sweaty.
sudden nap.
Yes.
You wake up sweaty. Great. Those are the worst naps. I don't like those ones.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you though.
know.
Thank you all so much for following along and joining us today. It was a really good conversation, and I appreciate you being here, Summer and Kaylee. That was awesome.
Mhm.
Your input is very valuable, and I like having more voices when we dive into stuff like this.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's so many perspectives and things we could say. So we could go on forever, but it is time. So,
You're gonna look at me.
yeah. Oh,
I guess since we're not doing the mid roll, we have to do both the end.
I know.
The mid.
I'm like,
Take your meds. Be
Oh,
kind to
yeah.
others. And mix it up. We gotta intertwine the
Take your
two.
others. Be kind to meds.
And we'll see you never.
Oh.
That's grim.
And then it's the end.
That's the end. It
And
just
This is
goes
the last
to black.
episode.
Great. All right. Fun. Thanks for coming along. We really appreciate you being here. Like, share, subscribe if you have not already.
Mhm.
Word of mouth is awesome. We appreciate you guys for that. And leave us a comment or join the Discord. So, on that note, we're going to call it a day. So, be kind to you, be kind to others, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
So that's that.
Yeah.
That we did a thing.